given that f(x) is equal to 5x to the power of 3, evaluate f minus 2. Now that minus 2 in the bracket is telling me what x is. So f minus 2 is 5 multiplied by x to the power of 3. We know that x is equal to minus 2, so it's 5 multiplied by minus 2 to the power of 3, which is 5 multiplied by minus 8, which is equal to minus 40. We want to multiply these two fractions together, so what we've got to do is change this one into a top heavy. So 3/8 stays exactly the same as it is, and we multiply by, change to top heavy, 1 times 7 is 7, 7 add on 5 gives us 12 over 7. Now at this stage, look to see if anything can cross cancel, anything from the bottom that will divide into the top as well. So 4 divides into 8 twice, and 4 divides into 12 3 times. So that simplifies it quite a bit. So 3 times 3 is 9, 2 7s are 14, and that gives me my final answer. We want to multiply two brackets together, so take the first term from the first bracket, which is x, and multiply by the second bracket. Then move on to the plus 5 times the second bracket. Right, I'll now fill in what that bracket is. So second bracket is 2x squared minus 7x's minus 3, 2x squared minus 7x minus 3. So x times 2x squared is 2x to the power of 3, minus x times 7x is minus 7x squared, and x times minus 3 is minus 3x's. Then I want to multiply this bracket by 5, so 5 times 2 is 10, so it's 10x squared. 5 times minus 7 is minus 35x's, and 5 times minus 3 is minus 15. Now we need to tidy this up. First term stays exactly the same, there's never anything to tidy up there, and the last term, minus 15, also stays the same. So now what we want to do is we want to gather the x squareds. So there's minus 7 of them there, and there is 10 of them there. So that gives me minus 7 plus 10 is the same as 10 take away 7 is plus 3x squared. Then we'll do the x's. So when I tidy up the x's, I have got minus 3x and minus 35. So I'm down at minus 3 and I want to go down another 35, which takes me to minus 38x. The diagram shows a sector of a circle centre C. The radius of the circle is 30. Calculate the length of the major arc AB. So major arc is this big arc round here. So arc length is equal to the angle, which is x just now, divided by 360. This gives us the fraction of the circle, multiplied by, it's an arc length, so it's part of the circumference, so it's multiplied by pi times d. Now, angle we've got here is 240 degrees, so it's 240 divided by 360. And they've told me to use pi as 3.14. Now, this is no calculator, so we're going to have to work this out, but hopefully things will start cancelling. Then we've got to multiply by the diameter. Now, that is the radius is 30. Diameter would be double that, would be 60 in its own centimetres. Right, now at this stage, we're going to look and see if anything cancels. Now, right away, I can see if I divide that by 10 and that by 10, I get 24 over 36. The next thing I can see is that 12 divides into both of them. So 12 into 24 goes twice, 12 into 36 goes 3 times. Now I've got 60 here. 3 into 3 goes once, 3 into 60 goes 20. So when I tidy all of that up, I've got 2 times 20 times 3.14, which is 3.14 multiplied by 40. And it's all divided by 1, so it's just that sum there. Right, so we'll multiply by 10, and then we will multiply by 4. So it's the same as 31.4 multiplied by 4. So 4 4s are 16, 4 1s are 4, and 1 makes 5, 4 3s are 12. Now, one number has got to be after the decimal point because there's one number after your decimal point in the question. So we have the arc length is equal to 125.6, and we've got to put in our units, centimetres. Now for this one, we've given the midday temperatures in Grantford, recorded over a 9-day period, temperatures in degrees Celsius, were 4, 7, 4, 3, 6, 10, 9, 5 and 3. Calculate the median and the semi-interquartile range of these temperatures. Now the first thing I've got to do is we have got to write them down in order. So the smallest number looking through that list is 3, and there's 2 of them. So there's 3 and 3, so I'm going to cross them out as I do that. There's 2 4s, so I'll put them down next. So 4 and 4. If I look at what I've got left, then I've got a 5 and a 6. So I've got 5, 6, and then I've got 7, 9 and 10 left. Right, now we want to find the median first of all. So the median is the middle number when they're put in order. Now there's 9 numbers. It told us there was 9. So the mid one there is going to be the one with 4 on that side, 4 on that side. So that's going to be Q2, which is the median. So the median is equal to 5. Now the next thing I've got to do is I've got to work out the semi-interquartile range. Now semi-interquartile range is equal to Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2. Now to find Q1 and Q3, we go back to our list, and when I go back to this list, I want the midpoint of this one. So the number that's in the middle there is going to be that one there. So halfway between 3 and 4 is 3.5. Now if those numbers you can't work out, you add the 2 of them together and divide by 2. Do the same here. The middle number in there is going to be 8. So therefore we've got Q1 is 3.5, Q3 is 8. So semi-interquartile range will be 8 minus 3.5 all divided by 2. So 3.5 away from 8 leaves me with 4.5, and half of 4.5 is 2.25. Now the next part here, it'll be a comparison question. You always get that after working out one of these. It says on the same 9-day period, the midday temperature and end of were also recorded. The median temperature was 8. The semi-interquartile range was 1.5. Right, so I'm going to compare them. So Grantford was the first place, and Endhoek is the second place. So we had median, which is, I'll just write it as Q2. So Q2 for that one was 5. Q2 for this one, the median was 8, and it's degrees Celsius. And we had semi-interquartile range. Now that is just like you being asked your standard deviation question. So here we had semi-interquartile range, which was 2.25. And for this one, they're telling me that the semi-interquartile range was 1.5. Now we've got to make 2 valid comparisons. So the 2 valid comparisons, it's all about temperature. So that was on average 5 degrees. On average, temperature there was 8 degrees. So we'll talk about one place being warmer than the other. So on average, Endhoek is warmer than Grantford. That's the first statement. Right, so on average, Endhoek is warmer than Grantford. Now we have to then make another valid conclusion. This is a 2, so it'll be a conclusion based on those 2 things. Right, semi-interquartile range again is a measure of spread. So that's bigger. So there's more variation in the temperatures in Grantford. So Grantford had more variation in temperatures. Okay, now you could ask or answer that round the other way. On average, Grantford is colder, and on average, Endhoek has got more consistent, less variation and the temperatures over the 9 days. It says the fuel consumption of a group of cars is recorded. The scatter graph shows the relationship between the fuel consumption, F kilometres per litre, and the engine size, E litres, of the cars. A line of best fit has been drawn. Find the equation of the line of best fit. Right, so to get the equation of any line, we need two things. We need a gradient and we need 1 point on the line. So the first thing we'll go is we'll work out the gradient. Now, there is your line of best fit. You must pick points that are on the line. Okay, there's a point sitting in there, and there's a point sitting there. So those are the 2 points that I'm going to use to work out the gradient. So if I write down the coordinates of those 2 points, that one there goes across to 1.5 and it goes up to 14. So I've got 1.5, I should say, and 14. And the second point goes across to 3.5 and up to 8. So 3.5 and 8. Now, label them. A first point, the first number is x, so it's x1, that's y1, that's x2, and that is y2. So gradient is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 is 8 minus 14, and we want to divide that by 3.5 minus 1.5. So 8 take away 14 is equal to minus 6, and that's divided by 3.5 take away 1.5 is 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and it's negative, so the gradient is minus 3. So we've now got the gradient, and now I want to work out the equation of the line. So the equation comes from y minus b is equal to m times x minus a. Right, now we're going to sub in a point. Doesn't matter which one I take, that one or that one. I think I'll use the one 3.5 and 8. So y minus b is y minus 8 is equal to the gradient is minus 3 times x minus 3.5. So now we've got to tidy that equation up. So y minus 8 is equal to minus 3x's. Minus 3 times minus 3.5 makes that plus, and that will be 10.5. Don't want that 8 to be there, so to undo that, I add 8 onto both sides. So add 8 onto that side, add 8 onto that side, and the equation then is y is equal to minus 3x's plus 18.5. Now, the next part is really, really important, because on that graph we did not have x and y. So if you look at the scales, and you must do this or you will lose a mark, on the y-axis it was f, and on the x-axis it was e. So the last thing we have to do then is to change those two letters. So instead of y we had f, so f is equal to minus 3, and instead of x we've got e, so minus 3e plus 18.5. For part B, I don't have the question there, so I'll read it out. It says a Mars car has an engine size of 1.1 litres, so E is equal to 1.1 litres. And the question says, use your equation from part A to estimate how many kilometres per litre he should expect to get. Right, so his fuel consumption is this F. So F is going to be equal to minus 3 times the engine is 1.1, and we've got plus 18.5. So minus 3 times 1.1 is minus 3.3, and I want to add on to that 18.5. Now that's exactly the same as 18.5 take away 3.3, and when I do that I get 15.2. Now we have to look back to see what F is measured in. So the fuel consumption F is measured in kilometres per litre. So it's kilometres per litre. The area of a trapezium is given by the formula A is equal to half h bracket x plus y. Now we want to make x the subject of the formula. So x is on the right hand side, so I'm going to start by writing down the formula round the other way. So I'm just reading it round the other way. Okay, so that is equal to A. Now we've got a half multiplied by h multiplied by that bracket. So I don't want to multiply by that half, but that half means 1 divided by 2. That's what half is, dividing by 2. So to undo that, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So when I multiply that side by 2, I get h bracket x plus y, and I've got to be fair and multiply the other side by 2, which is 2a. Now again, I've got h multiplied by this thing. I don't want to multiply by h, so I'm going to divide both sides by h. So x plus y is equal to 2a divided by h. Now, I don't really need the bracket there anymore, so I've got x plus y. I don't want y to be there, so I take y away from both sides, so x is equal to 2a divided by h minus y. John bought 7 bags of cement and 3 bags of gravel. The total weight of these bags was 215 kilograms. Write down an equation to illustrate this information. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down a bag of cement is equal to C. So bag of cement is equal to C. And a bag of gravel will make equal to G. Right, so what have we got? We've got 7 bags of cement, so we've got 7C, and he's also got 3 bags of gravel, so it's 3G, and that whole thing weighs 215. Now, you do not put in units, you don't need units in here, so you just write 215. Now, for this one, you've got Shona bought 5 bags of cement and 4 bags of gravel, total weight was 200. Write down an equation to illustrate this information. So we have 5C plus 4G, and here this is equal to 200. Now the next part, it says calculate the weight of 1 bag of cement and 1 bag of gravel. So it's your typical simultaneous equations. So our two equations, we'll get 7C plus 3G is equal to 215, and I have 5C add on 4G is equal to 200. Now we have to look to see which letter we're going to eliminate, and then we have to multiply to eliminate one of them. Now, they're all the same sign, but if you look at the numbers, we've got 7 and 5, and here we've got 3 and 4. So I'm going to eliminate G by multiplying that one, first of all, by 4. And I'm going to multiply that one by 3, but I need to make one negative, so I'm going to make that minus 3. So the top equation, when I multiply that by 4, 7 4s are 28, so I get 28C plus 12G, and when I multiply 215 by 4, that gives me 860. And when I multiply this one by minus 3, I get minus 15C minus 12G, and that is equal to minus 600. So now when I add these equations together, the letter G will disappear. So I have now got 28C take away 15 gives me 13C. G terms disappear, and 860 take away 600 gives me 260. Right, so now I want to solve that equation. So C is equal to 260 divided by 13. Now 2 13s are 26, so 13 into 13 goes once. 13 into 26 goes twice, so that's going to be 20. So therefore C is equal to 20, and it was measured in kilograms. I will summarise the results when we're finished. The next thing I've got to do is I want to sub C equal to 20 into, and I've got to choose one of those equations. Now you always choose one of the original equations. So I am going to choose the first one, which is 7C plus 3G is equal to 215. So now we want to put in C. So 7C, 7 2s are 14, so it's 140. plus 3g, and that is equal to 215. Now we want to take 140 off both sides, so that leaves 3g, and when I take 140 off 215, I'm left with 75. Now divide by 3, so g is equal to 75 divided by 3, turns out to be 25. Now you have to summarise in words what your results are. So you will say a bag of cement weighs, and that weighed 20 kilograms. And likewise you'll say a bag of gravel, and that weighed 25. If you do not write that down in words, you will not get your final mark. The graph shows a parabola. The maximum turning point has coordinates 420 as shown in the diagram. Write down the equation of the axis of symmetry. So the equation of the axis of symmetry is just x is equal to a number, and that number comes from the turning point. So the x number is 4. So x is equal to 4. Now the second part, it says the equation of the parabola is in the form. Now it's an N-shaped, it's a maximum turning point, so that's why you have this minus sign in front of the bracket. But your turning point, to get the number for x, you change the sign of the bracket. So that bracket in there, I'm going to write it down again, y will be equal to something, take away, and in the bracket it's going to be x, and instead of plus 4 it's minus 4, all squared. And this number here is just a number that's straight from the y coordinate is 20. Now we're asked to state the values of a, so a is just the number in this bracket. So the number in the bracket is minus 4, so a equals minus 4. Don't be put off because it says plus a, right? It just means what's that number that's there. So that number that's there is minus 4, and b is this number here. So b is equal to 20. Now our vectors question. So first one, it says in triangle PQR, P to R has got components 6, minus 4, and R to Q has components minus 1, 8. Right, so what I'm going to do is, there's P to R, so P to R I know that road, so I'm going to put a wee arrow going that direction. Then I know from R to Q, so there's R to Q, so I know that vector there. Now we want to express PQ in component form, so I want a route that takes me from P and it ends up at Q, but it's got to be along one of the routes that I can see the path. Right, so that one is given, so I could go from P to R and then I could go from R to Q, and effectively that's the same as starting at P and going to Q. So what we have to do then is write down that path. So the path that I took was, I went from P to R, and then I went from R to Q. Now we have components for these vectors, so from P to R it was 6 minus 4, so that's 6 minus 4, and then from R to Q was that one there, and it's minus 1, 8, so minus 1, 8. So all we have to do is add the x components and the y components, so 6 plus minus 1 is 5, and minus 4 plus 8 is 4. Now for this one it says M is a midpoint of PR, so if PR has got vectors 6 minus 4, then P to M has got to be half of that, so it's got to be 3 minus 2, and M to R is also half of that as well, which is also 3 minus 2. Now we want to find M to Q, so I've got to find a route. I'll choose a different colour and we'll see if we can find a route that takes us from M to Q. Right, so from M to Q, I could go from M to R, and then I could go from R to Q. So if we write that down, then we have M to Q, so I'm starting at M, okay, and I've got to go from M to R, then I will go from R up to Q, so that's plus RQ. Now we're going to write down the components that we know. So M to R, I know that's half of P to R, so it's half of that one. So it's going to be 3 minus 2. And from R to Q, so R to Q we've got there, which is minus 1, 8. So again, just add your components. So 3 plus minus 1 is 2. And 2 minus 2 plus 8 is 6. So the components from M to Q are 2, 6. It says Pam is designing a company logo. She starts by drawing a regular pentagon. The vertices of the pentagon lie in the circumference of the circle with centre O. Now, this question looks complicated, so you take it one step at a time. It says she then adds to the design, so she's adding this part here to the design, and AF is the diameter of the circle, so AF is that part going right the way down there. And we've got to calculate the size of angle from O to F to B. Right, so I'm going to label that angle. So from O to F to B is that angle in there. That's the one that I want to find. Now we're going to start that wee part there from E to A to O. There's E to A to O. And that part there is A, B and O. So that's that part there. Now going right round that full 360 degrees. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 angles. So I'm going to start off by saying 360 divided by 5, and 360 divided by 5 is 72 degrees. So that tells me that every single one of these wee angles in here are 72. Now if I put that into this diagram, then that's 72 and that's 72. Now how does that connect with the one at the bottom? Well, that's a diameter, so that part there's a straight line. So this angle in here, this one here, has got to be 180 minus 72. So 72 away from 180 leaves me with 108 degrees. Now we want this wee angle in here. This is a logo for that size there is a radius, and that's also a radius. So we've got an isosceles triangle. So that angle and that one must be exactly the same. So if I take 108 away from 180 and share it out between the two of them, then we'll know the size of that one. Right, so we start off with 180, and I want to take away that 108. So when I take away 108, it means that I am left with 72 degrees. Now that 72 degrees has got to be shared between that one and that one. So 72 degrees divided by 2, half of 72 is 36 degrees. So therefore angle O to F to B is equal to 36 degrees. Now I want to express root 2 divided by root 40 as a fraction with a rational denominator and give you an answer in its simplest form. So as soon as you have anything where you've got to rationalise the denominator, you're taking the root at the bottom and you're multiplying top and bottom by that root. Now, because you're multiplying top and bottom by that is effectively multiplying by 1, so it doesn't change the size, but it's putting it into the format that we want. Now, I've got root 2 multiplied by root 40. I can extend that root right across there and do 2 times 40, which is 80. And root 40 times root 40 is equal to 40. Now, we want to write this in its simplest form, so we're going to think of our square numbers. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81 and 100. So we're going to look and see what's the biggest one that divides into that. So go down your list, and when I go down the list, it's 16. So that's equal to the square root of 16 multiplied by 5, all divided by 40. Break your root sign, so it's root 16 multiplied by root 5 divided by 40. Root 16 is 4, so it's 4 root 5 over 40. And now we've got a fraction to simplify and cancel down. So both will divide by 4, so 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 40 goes 10 times. So it turned out to be the square root of 5 divided by 10. Part of the graph y is equal to 3 cos x plus 45 degrees is shown in the diagram, and we've got to work out the coordinates of point A. Right, now I'm going to look at y is equal to 3 cos x. Okay, so just y equals 3 cos x without this 45 degrees in the bracket. Now that graph goes up, it's got a maximum value of 3 and it's got a minimum value down at minus 3. And it starts at 0, 3, it goes down to a minimum at 180 minus 3, and it goes back up to 360 and 3. Now, the effect that this here has on the graph, it takes that graph and it moves that graph 45 degrees to the left. So this whole graph is moved 45 degrees left. Now, a turning point would be that one there, right? That's the minimum turning point. So that turning point would have been at 180 degrees and minus 3. But I've moved it left by 45. So if I move that left by 45, I'm taking 45 degrees away from 180. And when I do that, I get 135 and minus 3. So the coordinates of A are 135 degrees and minus 3. We want to solve this equation. Now we've got fractions here, we've got halves and we've got fifths. Now I'm going to do it in 2 steps. I'm going to multiply by 2 first of all. So when I multiply x divided by 2, I just get x. Multiply the 1 by 2 is minus 2. And when I multiply this whole side, because there's more than one bit, I'm going to put a bracket in. So it's 2 times 3 minus x. And I've still got that 5 at the bottom. Now the next thing I want to do is, I don't like that fifths, so I'm going to multiply by 5. So I do 5 times x is 5x, 5 times 2 is 10, so it's minus 10. When I multiply all this by 5, I end up with just 2 bracket 3 minus x. So I'm now going to multiply out that bracket and tidy up like terms. So that will be 6 minus 2x's. Add 2x onto both sides, gives me 7x. And we've got minus 10 is equal to 6. Don't want that minus 10, so add 10 onto both sides. So 7x is equal to 16. So I want to work out what x is. So x is equal to 16 divided by 7. Now, we want to change that into top heavy. Not top heavy, it's in top heavy. We'll change it to mixed number. So 7 into 16 goes twice. 2 sevens are 14, and there's 2 left over. So it's 2 and 2 sevenths. This one here is a wee problem solving question. So it says a ball is kicked off the top of a cliff top. It says the height h meters. H stands for the height of the ball relative to the cliff top after t seconds is given by. So it's a formula question. So h is equal to the height is 12 times t, which is a time, minus 5 lots of t squared. So it says calculate the height of the ball above the cliff top after 2 seconds. So t is 2. So h is equal to 12 multiplied by 2, because t is 2, minus 5 times 2 squared. So 12 times 2 is 24. And I've got to take away 2 squared brackets first is 4, 4 5s are 20. So therefore 24 minus 20 is 4. And the height is measured in meters, so it's 4 meters. Now, second part of this question, it says the graph below represents the height h meters of the ball relative to the cliff top after t seconds. The sea is 17 meters below the cliff top. After how many seconds will the ball hit the sea? Now, what we've got here is we've now got the height is minus 17. So minus 17 is equal to 12 lots of t minus 5t squared. Now I want to work out after how many seconds. I want to work out what the t is, what the value of t. Now what we've got here is we've got a quadratic equation. So I want to make sure that I've got a positive t squared. So I'm going to add 5t squared onto both sides, and I'm going to take 12t away from both sides. So that gives me 5t squared minus 12t, and the minus 17 stays there, and it's all equal to 0. So when you're solving any quadratic equation, it must be equal to 0. Right, now we're going to factorise that. Okay. So when we factorise that, we take the 5 times minus 17, which is minus 85. So not brilliant numbers. So we're looking for factors of 85, so it'll be 1 and 85. 2 doesn't divide into it because it's not even. 3 doesn't divide into it either. 4 doesn't divide into it. 5 divides into it, so it's 5 times 17. Now you have to go through and check all those factors. Now it is minus, so one factor is negative and one factor is positive. So I've either got minus 1 and 85 or 1 and minus 85 is the pair that goes with that one. And the pair that goes with this one is 5 and minus 17. Now we're looking for minus 12 as our sum of our factors. So 5 and minus 17 gives me minus 12. Right, so we're going to split that. So that's going to be 5t squared. And it's going to be plus 5t minus 17t. And we've got minus 17. So we'll break it down the middle. Highest common factor is 5t. So that will give me t plus 1. Highest common factor there is minus 17 because I want t plus 1 in that bracket. And remember it's all equal to 0. Make up your two brackets. So you've got 5t minus 17. And you have t plus 1 equal to 0. So either 5t minus 17 equals 0 or t plus 1 equals 0. Now that would give me 5t is equal to, add 17 onto both sides. I don't want 5t, so I'm going to divide by 5. So t is equal to 17 divided by 5. And in this case, t is equal to minus 1. Now they asked me after how many seconds. That's a negative time, so that's not valid. So that's not a solution, right? So that's not a solution because you've got a negative time, and you can write that down. So therefore, it's going to be when t is equal to 17 over 5 seconds. Now you can change it to a mixed number. So 5 into 17 goes 3 times. 3 5s are 15, and there's 2 left over. So it's 3 2/5 of a second.